beginning of the trailer with Spider-Man, it appears he's either hanging upside down or it's the way the camera is. But I'll let you take it away and describe.
From what I see, it's him sitting, like you're sitting on a beam in the city, and he's upside down because he's a spider. But he's just like sitting like normal, so it looks it's already kind of a cool thing, and it's just a great shot. And I think it's gonna, and there'll be another scene that we'll talk about here soon. One thing that does speak to the trailer is right off the bat, I'm like, oh wow, cinematography is awesome, and his suit is that bright blue and bright red to that gray kind of city in the background. It's right off the bat, I'm like, this looks better already. This looks new.
Yeah.
Looks like I haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
So, and I'm digging it. I love the shot. I love how it pans over above him, and it's great. It's I love it when he's upside down. Anyways, anytime where you see him doing something that a normal person does, but because he's a spider, he can do it in different ways. I've always had a good time with, especially this Spider-Man for sure.
Yeah.
So that's really all I wanted to point out with that one, because it's going to speak to the cinematography of it, which another one later will be. It's brief because it's for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say for my personal view is, what I love about the scene is how muted everything looks, except it's clear that the focus is on him.
Yeah.
It's not too bright, not too flashy, all the stuff behind him, so it distracts you. And I kind of hope that the tone of that movie is this way, because this is the first time we're seeing a fourth Spider-Man movie with the same iteration of a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Tom Holland is just amazing. You could tell he's grown into this role, and I'm curious to see the post high school version of Peter Parker for the first time and seeing what that's gonna look like. And that image right there from the very beginning of the trailer definitely looks like we're gonna get that. All right, so the next picture here that we're gonna talk about is, it looks like almost a naked Tom Holland falling out of a web cocoon, and he's realizing for the first time he's got organic webs. We think. Yep. It looks pretty much like he's got it. Yeah. He got Tobey Maguired. Now, what do you think about this?
I love it.
Yeah.
What I like about this is, as you see as the trailer progresses, to get to this point, it's him, he's looking at MJ and all them, and he's missing out, and he sees their life is going forward, and he's growing up. So I like that with him growing up, watching everybody else grow up, that his mutation from whatever happened to him is growing up as well. And as you hear throughout the trailer, this whole idea of, a spider goes in 3 different, life cycles and all that fun stuff. So what I like about this is it kind of grounds this back to what we never got in the first 3, which was an actual issue, or not necessarily issue, but an actual problem or something that focuses around his actual abilities. Mm-hmm. When in the original, like with Toby and them, we did get that a little bit, and it was okay, but it kind of felt played out weird. But this feels like the perfect time to do it, and I say that because this is one of the things that makes me feel like, wow, we've seen 3 movies of his now, of Tom Holland's Spider-Man. This trailer, specifically in this scene and moving forward as we go, I feel like we're watching a different Spider-Man all of a sudden, and it's like a new trilogy, which has gone with my theory about how, the first 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies are 3 movies of a actual origin story in 3 movies, to now we have really Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So it's like he's a young spider that can't make webs, and now he's turning into a young adult spider that can make webs. And that, I'm in for that ride, because that means, I hope we don't go too wild on the other stuff in his life. Mm-hmm. I like that it's there. I like that the MJ stuff is there. I like that he's worried about who he is. But I hope the movie really does focus a lot on what he's becoming, more so than those things. Because I think we got more movies to come from this.
Oh yeah.
So save that other stuff for like when that builds. But let's have fun with Spider-Man this time. And that looks like that's kind of what's happening, and that's what makes me excited about that.
Well, I'll say, to piggyback off of what you just said, and I completely agree with you wholeheartedly, I like your little synopsis kind of what this means, because it actually makes me a little more hopeful seeing what we're going to see next from this, where, you know, the first trilogy, he's, like you said, kind of like a young Spider, and now he's growing, just as Peter Parker is growing up and things like that. So I think that's really cool to put that in perspective. I also love that Tom Holland is young when they got him, and he's dedicated to the role. So all that is really cool, because it's sometimes I know an actor, after they've been doing the same thing for so long, they're like, oh, I'm going to be stereocast or typecast, all this stuff. He's soaking it all up because he knows what he is. So that's awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. That scene did surprise me, because I know we heard rumors about, oh, they're going to do this, not going to do this, but you only take rumors as they are, as a rumor, grain of salt. We heard like 3 different versions of No Way Home, and then what we got of No Way Home was like by far better than anything we had heard of before.
My only hopes is we don't get the giant mutated were-spider that we got in the comic books. I don't think they're going to go that direction, but hey, you know, you never do know. That to me would be a step too far.
That would be, I agree. Yeah. All right, so the next scene we'll talk about is the clip that we have here of Bruce Banner, Professor Banner, looking at Tom Holland, or Peter Parker, saying, "Who are you again?"
So back when we heard the rumors that he was going to be in this movie, my first thought at the time was, oh man, how you do Hulk in a Spider-Man movie where the Hulk just doesn't dominate the whole movie? And then now we see in the trailer that he's not Hulk, which is question number 1. So I'm very interested to see what the possibilities are of why he's not Hulk. Yeah, when I've watched the trailer a couple times now, I noticed that he has like a device on his hand. Maybe he's figured out a way to go back and forth or suppress the Hulk completely, and why he'd want to. And the last time we left the Hulk, why would he feel like he has to? So I don't know. I'd like, and maybe they won't answer those, but I think that they're going to need to touch on that a little bit. And you know, it's a good person for Peter to go to with his problem, because there's a guy dealing with a mutation he has. And out of everybody, he's going to be the one that he doesn't know Peter Parker's Spider-Man right now. But it's going to be easy to convince him, because Mark has played the part well, where it's like nothing sounds too crazy for everything they've been through. So Peter approaching him saying, by the way, I'm Peter and I'm Spider-Man, and you'd know this, but I erased your memory before. He's going to be like, yeah, it makes sense. It tracks with everything we've done in our life. You know what I mean? So I'm going to believe you. You know what I mean? And obviously you can prove it to him as well. And he's going to be the first to be like, well, I'm going to help you out, because I think he's going to see sympathy in him, knowing that it's scary to have something going on in you that you don't know what it is or how to control it or what to do with it. And I like that it's Ruffalo and not the Hulk. I really do. I'm just curious to see how they got there with it, is where my mind goes.
Yeah, you know, I agree with what you said there. I think from my understanding, and I've watched this trailer a couple times since our first reaction to it, and that I was wondering too, all right, how is he Bruce Banner? Yeah. But as I think back about what we've seen from Bruce since Endgame, in the She-Hulk show, I know he had a device that kept him to be Bruce, because he had a hard time, I wouldn't say balancing it, because at that point he already had put both of them together, but I think he said he was, if I remember right, he was going through something, so that kept him stable. That's why when the car crash happened in the She-Hulk pilot and he, it broke, he hulked out too. Yeah. Just like Jennifer Walters eventually did too. But, so I think if we watch the trailer, you catch that he has that device again. So that could be why. I'm sure as we see the actual movie and more things come out and all that, we'll know more definitively, because that's kind of like the thing they're jumping off back and forth of, is he Hulk, is he not Hulk, is he smart Hulk, is he what Hulk?
Yeah, so, what's that mean, right?
Yeah, and there's rumor in this movie that he is going to turn back into the Savage Hulk, which in our next episode we're going to talk about the Incredible Hulk. That was one of the last times, not the last time of course, but one of the last times that we saw like a full Hulk movie that he was Savage Hulk type thing. So we've seen him since then as Savage Hulk, but only, of course, because of his rights issue in other films. But
I just don't know if it's necessary for this movie. But once again, we don't know what the movie's going to be. Yeah. You might need him. I just think I would be okay with him just being Bruce the whole time and the guy he goes to talk to. Yeah. You know, I don't think we even need him. I don't even think we even need to see the Hulk. I know people go like, what? But hey, I mean, why do you have to, right? It's we'll see, maybe not. You know, I think it should be as close to Spider-Man's vest as possible.
Yeah, well, what I'll say about that too is we already know of some of these characters are going to be in the movies, and then we have some characters like Sadie Sink. We still have no idea who the heck she's playing. So, one of my worries has always been how.
Seems like the internet knows who.
Yeah. I'm praying not. But anyways, when you oversaturate a movie with so many different characters, especially big characters like the Hulk, and you already have the Punisher, and it looks like the Hand we're going to be talking about soon, and some of these other characters, be like, this is a Spider-Man movie, so let's see how much we could keep it just a Spider-Man movie. They could do it with all these characters, but I agree with you. If we don't get the Hulk himself in this movie, will we get Bruce Banner? That's fine too, because guys, this is a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there's that scene, and the next scene that we'll show is another character we just touched upon. Is the Punisher.
Yep.
So, what are your thoughts?
I had to do some thinking on this one because my first initial thought was, hold on, if I don't know who the Punisher is from TV because I don't watch the TV shows, then who's this guy? And how's he know Spider-Man? Of course, and this is just me doing assumptions off of how they might do a whole beginning part of the movie where Spider-Man says, oh yeah, and I met this guy, and he's this guy, and this guy, and that guy, and I know him now, and then there we are, and we're good to go, and I'm just way overthinking it. But then I also thought to myself, we don't really need to introduce the Punisher in an origin way. Just have him be there, street-level kind of guy. What I like about the tone of it, though, is they are buddies-ish. Not really buddies, but first-name basis. Clearly not the first time they've run into each other, which I like, which makes me feel like Spider-Man is tapped into the street level of Marvel, of the street level people, which also makes me think the theory is, I really think if you're going to throw Daredevil in this movie, if you're going to put him in any of them for the fun of it, I think the last quarter of this movie should be the three of them kicking the crap out of whoever the heck they have to kick the crap out of.
Yeah.
I would love to see Spider-Man kind of help those lower level fighters. They all kind of come together and just see this really cool. I'd rather see that than the Hulk show up. Truthfully, and I think that there's argument to say that might be what we're seeing at the end. But we'll get to that picture when we get there. No, I like it. I think it's perfect. He's gonna get the edgy stuff. He'll get the swear words of the movie. I think there's gonna be good comedy there. I am of the camp that my Punisher is Thomas Jane. But I like John Barenthal's Punisher as well. I think he's great. I still wish they'd have played more on the Punisher that I got back in the 2000s, but that's a whole other conversation for a different podcast, or a different time at least. But I like his Punisher, and I just have to say that if there's anything about him I'm supposed to know from the shows, I have not seen all of it. So I hope that they take into consideration that, if there's a character arc about him that's important that shows up in this and I don't know, I don't know, that might take away from a little. I mean, we had an experience with the Wanda thing. We have a friend that went and watched Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness with us, and he goes, when did Wanda have kids? And if you didn't watch the shows, you would have never known that. So I get it, and it threw him off a little bit, but he was able to still get into the movie. They still made it work. So I think this is great. I love him in it. It looks good. It's going to be the funny scenes for sure. Yeah. And I hope he's in it. I hope he has a bigger part than a couple cameos. Yeah. I hope there is an ending where he's part of the end, where it's things go down and he's part of the solution. Yeah.
I'll say for myself, when it comes to the Punisher, I have not, because you're familiar with the Punisher way before I was and things like that, but Punisher never was my cup of tea type thing. I never thought about a character like that.
Violent revenge story. So
and he definitely is that. But when I was growing up, I was the superhero stuff. Oh, cool. So I never gravitated too much of the darker edge of comics type thing. But I will say, as someone who has watched the Daredevil show from the Netflix time, when they introduced him in season 2 of Daredevil, I was glued to the TV. Yeah. He was so good of a character, so rich of a story to tell. And I haven't even finished his spin-off show that was on Netflix. I did start it, but I do need to finish it. I was more enamored at that time of, Jessica Jones. There's a whole bunch they released on Netflix. And now they're transitioning those over to the Disney Plus with Daredevil Born Again and things like that. Yeah. And he appeared in season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, and Well, a couple times in season 1.
Well, and you got a world-class actor, too,
He's a
playing him.
great actor.
He's so good. Yeah, I've watched him in so many other movies. Every time, actually, when I hear of a movie he's in, it goes on my radar as well. That's something to at least pay attention to. And sometimes he's not in a good movie, but it's never his fault. And he plays this character very well. I might love Thomas Jane as Punisher, but I like his as well.
Yeah, well,
I just really love Thomas Jane as
I know
Punisher.
that John Bernthal's version here of Punisher, we're going to see him for the first time in the films in Spider-Man Brand New Day, but also on Disney Plus they're doing another Marvel Spotlight that's supposedly an hour long of just the Punisher. So
very cool.
Again, I know it comes back to something we've talked about that's kind of hard for your average moviegoer to keep up with. What do we have to know from the Disney Plus stuff that we have to know in the movies, vice versa? I feel like they've learned their lesson a little bit. Maybe that's just me being optimistic.
Yep.
But I wonder if we're going to get a solid intro to the Punisher in this movie. Sort of how we got an intro of Matt Murdock in No Way Home. Perfect way to segue him into it. And now I feel like just a natural follow-up, like you mentioned earlier, is to see Matt Murdock again in the follow-up movie, but as his alter ego Daredevil.
That'd be great. Be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So move on from that scene. There was another scene that you wanted to mention, and that was a shot of Peter Parker's eye as he's falling.
Yeah, this is just a quick little, nothing real crazy about this. This just speaks to the cinematography that I can't wait to see what this movie does. I have a feeling that they're not just going to do these couple shots like this for the trailer and have a good time. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of angles like this in this movie. And we've never seen his face inside the mask before. Not only that, but what a great way to show his, he's jumping off of this thing, flying towards the earth. But after watching the video of Mary Jane, he's kind of just like, yeah, well, that's what I'm doing. And it's almost like the eye roll of the excitement of falling towards the earth of Spider-Man doesn't even overwhelm him of his boredom and a sadness of not being a part of the life he had. And they show it in a close-up like that in the mask. I like that. It's a more personal. This is the kind of stuff that makes me feel like this is going to be a legit Spider-Man movie. Not that those other three aren't. I will say those other three might be in contention as one of the best trilogies in the MCU. They're, to me, the best Spider-Man movies that we've ever seen, for sure. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're bad, but it was always accompanied by this or that or this or that, which makes sense when you realize that it's his origin. And now here we are. We actually have Spider-Man. Focus on him. Make this. Make this all about him. Make it very personal. Even if the stakes don't get that heavy, we care enough because we understand what he gave up, and now we're seeing him go through it. I'm down for that.
Yeah, I can't add anything to that because I agree 100% what you said. This next scene here, it looks like of a man in green strapped to a chair that we have no idea who he is.
So is this a man? Are those hands man hands?
I would say they're man hands. This is an episode of Seinfeld.
I mean, they kind of look like man hands. They look like woman hands too.
Okay.
I'm curious to see who this character is.
I might be wrong.
I feel like this is a character. We see another shot of this person with their arms up in the air doing something. We're not sure. While they're talking about the idea of somebody doing things that we can't even see. And this is where we went on our little rant the other night when we kind of talked about this briefly. And we did say we wish we recorded it because for about 20 minutes, folks, we went psycho and we're not happy about the idea that Jean Grey's probably in this movie and might be a bad guy, and it's not even sure that that's 100% what's happening at all.
We got to the point where we're trying to convince ourselves in different scenarios. Oh, I see it happening here. Oh, I see this. We got to the end. We got so flustered that I said, "Wait a minute, this is not confirmed."
It just goes to show how fast you take ownership, and it also goes to show how fast you take ownership over these characters and stories, which is something as movie watchers we need to be careful and not do. And secondly, it does go to show how passionate my brother and I are going to be about X-Men stuff.
Yeah, and I do have to add, since we're on the subject right now, I see a lot of people online, big influencers online type thing. They act very passive about Jean Grey being in this movie.
Yes, they do. And they're very sure she's in it.
Yeah, they're very sure she's in it. They're like, oh, we're 85, 90% sure she is in this movie, blah, blah, blah. And that's a good thing. And I'm thinking, do you this is so much bigger. If Jean Grey actually is in Spider-Man Brand New Day, this is so much bigger than just a Spider-Man movie. There's a number of holes in this that I don't know if they can fill enough so we could get a complete picture of a good movie. And I say that with admiration to Spider-Man, admiration to Jean Grey and the X-Men, the mutants at large, because Jean Grey is one of those characters that we haven't even gotten introduced to the MCU's X-Men, and this is their way of doing it. It brings up a whole bunch of questions. How are they going to do this? Is this going to be a disservice to Spider-Man in his own movie? And how are they going to portray Jean Grey? I love Sadie Sink. I love Stranger Things. She's a great actress. And she will do a heck of a job as Jean Grey.
Agreed.
But is this the time and the place to put her in it? And how are we going to get her? Are we going to get her as this multiversal runaway? Are we going to get her as this surprising new mutant that's just popping up because all of a sudden the MCU and Earth 616 now finally has mutants with no explanation of how they got there? That they haven't said that in the movies. That they haven't done what you and I thought Wanda was going to do in Multiverse of Madness and do a reverse No More Mutants and say let there be mutants. That would have been the best way to
so cool.
Put people on the edge of their seat to see what comes next. And then I can see logically, a mutant shows up in New York City. It's Jean Grey. What are you going to do? But they haven't done any of that yet. So how the heck if she is Jean Grey in this movie?
Yeah.
Plus, Jean Grey cannot start off in the MCU as a villain or even have a villain tendencies or anything like that.
The biggest mistake they could make.
Even if she's defending herself against the Department of Damage Control and they're trying to capture her, no. That's not how you start her off. That's not how you start the mutants off in this. Well, there's no establishment of this.
Yeah, just to give you some reinforcement, because I know a lot of people are going to say, well, who are you to say that? Because they can do whatever they want. And that's true. But the truth is, though, you want... The X-Men are a big deal. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to redo the X-Men, that's cool. I understand that there's things they're going to have to do that we're probably not going to like, we might have to swallow. One of them is how they're coming into this world. I have a great way of doing it. But, and we'll get into it in a different podcast, it'll be 3 hours of us talking about it. But I don't think they're going to go the direction of using the incursions as the reason why that they feel like they're marginalized. They might use the incursions as a reason why they're in here, but I don't think they're going to use it the way we think they should. If she just is showing up in Spider-Man, then it concerns me to them not being serious about what it means to be who they are. And that's the important thing about the X-Men. Making her a bad guy, even if it's the misunderstood bad guy because she's running away from people, it's like jumping the gun. Because what's great about Jean and into the core of the character is that she's so innocent and so scared of who she is that you feel nothing but kindness and compassion for this character. Because then later on, when she turns into the most powerful evil thing in the world, you need to feel that hurt. You need to feel that that's happening. And it's the last person you want it to be, Yes. So to start her out, we got this already with Wanda. Wanda came in, manipulated into being a bad guy, got talked into being a good guy for a while, comes back to being a real bad guy. Okay, cool, and that worked. Let's not do it again. Let's not do it again. Not with an X-Men character as important as Jean will be in the future if they are really taking X-Men seriously.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I want to say, too, about that. And I know that when a director or a producer is taking these characters inspired and created in the comics and they're putting them to live adaptation, I know there's some creative liberty on how they could portray them and how they could do them. But one thing that always annoys me to a degree is these characters are... Not only are they already well written to a degree, but they're well written because of their popularity. Jean Grey is arguably one of the most popular characters of the X-Men franchise, regardless if you personally like her or not. There's no denying when you think of the X-Men, she was one of the original X-Men, the OG X-Men, the first female X-Men member. There's a whole bunch of lore about her, and she survived for so long being the nice one, and I don't mean that in a sarcastic way or in a bad way. She is that picture perfect, you want to take her home to meet your parents type of girl. And so...
Well, she's an extension of Charles. really. And he sees her that way as well, often. She's his finest student because he knows how powerful her mind is. And she takes right after him. And he's, to her, the mentor she's never had. So we can't start it off where she's in a bad spot.
You can't. That's what I was getting at, is for these characters, when you're adapting them into a movie, you have to keep the essence of why the fans loved her to begin with, why they love all these characters. No matter what their backstory is, they're there because they're popular enough to be in the movie. So remember their origins and where they came from. You could tell any different kind of story you want of them, but if you change their origins in a way that conflicts with how the character actually is, especially that we grew up and that we loved in the comics and even the shows and all that stuff, if you change it so dramatically, you're going to get a visceral negative reaction because that's not what the characters are.
I agree. And to even count on that, or to put even more ammo behind what you just said, is that's why I fear them bringing them from the multiverse is happening, because you're going to have a bunch of different characters from the X-Men from different times and different universes. When one of the really unique things about the X-Men is they kind of grow up together, and you got that sense of these people are a team from teenagers to young adults to adults. And it's just, if we lose that, I just feel like, I mean, maybe it's just the old school guys in us that love those old movies, I guess, that love the old X-Men. But if you're looking for your 90s or your 97 X-Men in like a movie form and they go about it this way, it's just not going to be there. There's going to be an amalgamation of a bunch of characters put together that look like and act like our X-Men that we know. But we're going to have to pretend that they're just, somebody else.
Exactly. All right, so move away from Jean Grey before it gets crazy.
Yeah, let's go nuts.
We have, I think, 2 more scenes to touch on before we get to the main topic at hand. So, this scene, still shot of Spider-Man swinging away from Boomerang.
Yeah, excellent. I love it because it's a cover of a comic book. And it's I didn't read a lot of comic books when I was growing up, but the ones I did read were Punisher, Spider-Man, and some X-Men ones. And I specifically remember that, and it's almost an identical shot of a comic book. That, and it's another villain that, I kind of think that we're going to get a little bit of a, maybe in the beginning of this movie, we're going to get kind of like they did with the Fantastic Four, where it's like, since I've been Spider-Man for the last 4 years, I've met this guy and fought this guy and fought that guy. And we're only going to get a little piece of what that was and what's going on there. And to me, that's perfect, because we don't need a movie of him fighting Boomerang. It's just cool that he exists in this world, and we see a segment where he kicks his butt real quick, and I'm down for that.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, just to touch on this really briefly, is I agree with you. I think just like what we did in the Fantastic Four First Steps, where you get a little montage of these are some of the people that they fought, and this is how they saved the world before you get to your main baddie of the movie type thing. Spider-Man is the Marvel equivalent to Batman of DC in regards to the Rogues Gallery for a single character. Now, of course, you say that and you're trying to compare Spider-Man to Batman. Batman is 10 times darker than Spider-Man. Spider-Man's much more lighter. But if you just put them down on paper, you have Spider-Man, then you can have a laundry list of all of his foes that just hate Spider-Man, of all the people in the MCU. You do the same thing with Batman. He's got such an incredible rogues gallery of people that just hate Batman and want to do nothing but tear down Gotham and everything Batman stands for. And the same thing with Spider-Man. So I think for some of these lesser-known villains that don't have the capacity of helming a movie as the main baddie, like Boomerang, I think that's why you got so many of them that they were rumored to be, we're going to see this guy, we're going to see that guy, we're going to see Tombstone, we're going to see Scorpion, you're going to see all these characters. You're going to probably see them for maybe 2 to 5 minutes most of the movie, only because, from my understanding, this movie's taken place so many years after the events of No Way Home. And so, what's Spider-Man been doing? He's been
fighting crime,
kicking butt and taking names.
That's right.
So, and like what you just said, Ike, this is straight out of the comics of a cover.
Yeah, it looks
There's
great.
like 3 or 4 scenes, and you're going to hear everyone online saying the same thing, that when Dustin Daniel Cretton said he wanted to draw as much inspiration from the comics as he can, oh my gosh, he got it to the T, picture perfect. So I hope the story is as good as the cinematography they got for this movie. All right, the last scene we're going to touch upon real quick here. This is a still shot of Spider-Man going up against what appears to be a group of ninjas, possibly the Hand.
Yeah, I think who else could this be, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're going to see Daredevil, and we're going to have Punisher involved. I think there's another person flying there with him, and I think that's Daredevil. I think maybe Punisher jumping too. I doubt it because he's a guy, but I think that this is going to be your climactic. He's going to turn into the ultimate Spider-Man. His powers are going to be at his best as a young spider adult, and he's going to realize what he can do, and he's going to go up against some of these guys are going to be the hardest people he's ever had to fight. And Daredevil's going to get involved because they're involved with him, and I think that's going to be cool. I think they're the Hand. I can't think of who else they'd be.
I agree. I think they're the Hand, and I think exactly what you said. This image, how it was shot and how it's portrayed to us in the trailer, is very reminiscent of No Way Home.
100%.
When Spider-Man's going up against Sandman, Electro, and Lizard. So it appears as though this is just speculation, but it is shot in the way where there's so much of a gap between Spider-Man in the air and everything else. I won't be surprised to see a Daredevil jumping in there. And I agree with you. Punisher, he's not agile like Daredevil and Spider-Man are. So he's probably standing on the ground,
or he's just
jumping and shooting, something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like if this really is the Hand, which appears it is the Hand, then it's a nice way of bringing in the Daredevil-esque, the Daredevil part of stuff that we've started to see with Punisher, with Daredevil himself, Matt Murdock, in No Way Home. That I think is a nice blend of bringing that into the MCU and seeing what they could do with those characters and all that and some of these other people. And I will also point out, because a long time ago when Falcon and Winter Soldier came out, a lot of people were saying, oh, why, if this all happened in New York City, why didn't Spider-Man swing by to help Falcon, aka the brand new Captain America, blah, 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 and all this stuff and Takedown? Well, one, there's a lot of rights issues when it comes to how to portray Spider-Man, how to use Spider-Man, and I'm sorry, guys, but it seems like for a Disney Plus show, he can't be in them. That's one thing. Another thing is there's so many other different things going on between Spider-Man and some of these other characters that you're not always going to see Spider-Man swing into Hawkeye when he's shooting arrows at Kingpin villains and all that stuff, and what they call themselves, the Moving Bros or something like that. I'm not sure. Something funny like that. But anyways, you're actually getting that now in the Spider-Man movie. You're getting where some of these other villains and characters that aren't really related to Spider-Man so much, like Punisher, like the Hand and things like that, they're starting to merge together, and they're doing it in the best way in the Spider-Man movie, or in a movie we know they have liberty that they could put them in. So.
Well, and what's neat about this is why I think it's a new beginning, is it shows that it's escalating, right? I think we're going to see a lot of those bad guys in the beginning montage stuff. And I think the Scorpion is going to be a bigger scene, but I don't think he's going to be a main bad villain either. I think it's going to be he's going to be a continuous one, and then he ends up taking him down. Maybe that's when he starts to realize he has problems with his powers first, is in a fight with Scorpion. That's why he gets the upper hand a couple times. But I think you're going to see Spider-Man meet his match in this and realize, oh man, it kind of comes down to that Dark Knight thing, where arguably would the Joker have been a villain in the Batman franchise if Batman never existed, because when you watch The Dark Knight, he's really only there for him and to prove him wrong by using the city to do it. So it's kind of like Spider-Man is going to run in. I hope he kind of runs into this conundrum of where you have good guys, bad guys are going to come from too. And not just to come after him, but also the better he gets, the worse they're going to be as they come in. So, and I think that, I hope there is a trilogy. And I hope by the third one he's fighting someone ridiculous that makes us go, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing this. So I think that'd be a lot of fun,
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think that if the Hand is in this Spider-Man movie, you've now opened up a whole other portal, you can say, of potential characters that could be in this movie, potentially who Sadie Sink could be, that everyone's prevailing theory is Jean Grey, but you've opened up a whole bunch of other characters that she potentially could be playing that we have no idea.
I hope she's Gwen. That's what I'm hoping.
Yep. Gwen, Mayday Parker, Firestar was my thing. I thought that would be cool. Spider-Man, his amazing friends, kind of coming into this, but
she could be the hot dog stand person as long as she's not Jean Grey. I'll be okay.
Yes, and if she is Jean Grey, we're gonna be like,
we'll give it a chance. We'll see.
Oh my!
We're just very passionate, so beware.